Good morning. It's 10:09 on a Friday morning. You've reached the Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman, on FM 98.1 KHTS, AM 1220, your hometown station. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. It's that time of the day. It's that time of the week again, so we're going to talk about the show a little bit. I got some good stuff for you today. We're going to talk about homelessness today, which isn't a whole lot of fun, but we do need to talk about that because I think some of the statistics are kind of shocking, and I want to talk to you about some of the stuff the state is doing because I love my state, I do, but my goodness, we get things wrong here an awful lot. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. When I say we, I mean the political class in California just seems to not understand what is necessary for business to work properly, but we'll discuss that. I also want to talk to you about the state of the market, which hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. Very few houses on the market, interest rates going up, it's cats and dogs living together. It's crazy. It's all over the place. And most importantly, more fun, we're going to have Yvette Sanchez with Home Guard Home Warranty in with us today as our special guest. And we're going to talk all things home warranty because I think that not enough people know the value of a home warranty and what it can do for you. And as the economy is getting tighter and as people's wallets need to be stretched a little bit longer, you'll find that having a home warranty policy is incredibly important. Just saved me over $2,000 just this month. So we'll talk about we'll talk about that. We'll have her in to talk about that on the second segment of the show. But first, let's talk about what's currently going on. So here's a big number. Whenever I come across anything, I like to bring it to you guys. I'm a statistical sort of guy, and I've talked to you guys about the market ad nauseum here, about what's going on. Interest rates are really high. Prices are stubbornly not falling yet. The Fed is fighting that by continuing to raise the interest rate. And there's just not enough properties on the market because so many people have interest rates below 4%. I've been living with this statistic ever since I heard it a couple of months ago, but I'll repeat it again. 70% of every single home in the United States, according to the good folks at Fannie Mae, has an interest rate 4% or below. 85%, so an additional 15%, have interest rates at 5% or below. Given that the current interest rate hovers somewhere between 7.8 and 8.1, those are not people who are going to refi. Those are not people who are going to sell unless they have no other choice. So that is what they're calling now golden handcuffs. And until we sort that out, until the economy starts to sort that out, we're not going to see inventory return. And until that happens, prices will remain high. It's supply and demand, folks. That's what it is. And right now, we're in kind of a race to deflate that, as we have been all year. And right now, supply is still higher, or rather, I should say, supply is now a little bit lower than demand. Imagine a graph as the entire thing is shrinking, because right now in the Santa Cruz Valley, in all of Southern California, there's only about 35 to 40%. That business is not happening. So imagine if whatever business you're in, whatever you do for a living, imagine that 40% of the business you had last year did not exist this year. 40%. I don't know too many businesses, too many industries that can survive that, but we're going to find out because that's happening in real estate right now. So escrow companies, title companies, realtors, lenders, everybody, there's notaries, home protection people, home inspectors, everybody who's involved in real estate is hurting right now. They just are, because 40% fewer properties are being sold in this area. Now, maybe it's 34% where you're at, maybe it's 35, but on average, it tends to round up around 40 if you go month over month. So that's a lot less business being done, and that is going to become a problem, but it still hasn't depressed housing prices, and that is what the Fed is after. Whenever you hear the Fed talking about crushing inflation, supplant the word inflation with housing prices, because in a lot of places, housing prices are dropping, but they're not here. They're not dropping in California. They're not dropping in New York. They're not dropping by and large in most of California is dropping in San Francisco in the city, but it is not dropping overall because we're a high cost area. People want to live here. That's the bottom line, even at 8% interest rates. So I'm going to read you a quick headline here. It says, this is from the good people at Fortune magazine. This is just Tuesday this week. According to the good people at Fortune, it is now 52% more expensive to buy than to rent in the current housing market, and shoppers are pulling out of contracts left and right. What that means is there are people that are entering escrow. And in escrow, you have a period to check out the house and get your I's dotted and your T's crossed before you actually complete a transaction. That's that way in, I think, every state. Sometimes you use escrow companies like we do here on the West Coast. And the East Coast, they use what they call closings, where you sit at a table with an attorney, but same sort of thing. Anyway, houses that are in escrow are falling out like crazy. An estimated 53,000 home purchases fell through in September. That's 16% of every house that went into escrow in the entire United States. 16% of them are not closing escrow. 53,000 that fell out. The metro areas with the highest share of cancellations include Atlanta, 24.4%, Jacksonville, 24%, Orlando, 23.6%, Tampa, Florida, 22.7%, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 22.0%. Now, the average cancellation rate in the nation, even though it's much, much higher, is 16%. It's the highest it's been in about 30 years. I guess the highest has been in my entire career. If not pretty close. Mid 90s were pretty rough, but I think we're even worse than that now. And even at 16%, these areas, Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, have much, much higher. Atlanta. So in the South, they're seeing even higher rates of cancellation. It's a mess. Also in September, existing home sales dropped to their lowest figure since 2010, according to the National Associated Realtors, and closed sales overall fell to their lowest level since the COVID-19 pandemic began, according to Redfin. So yeah, there just aren't a whole lot of houses being sold, and what is out there right now, there's not a lot of inventory out there, so it's really hard for buyers. Buyers are facing an uphill fight. That's why so many of them are canceling, because you're looking at much higher interest rates, much higher prices, and many fewer options. And that is not a good combination, and it won't stand. I mean, it's going to go the other way. Despite cancellations, there still isn't much inventory, even with new listings inching up last month. That's keeping prices high and buyers on the sideline. So that is a whole lot of bad news as far as the market is concerned. Again, unless, and there is that one exception, if you have a house to sell and you do not have another one to buy, this is your market. This is the market you have waited your entire life to take advantage of. This is your market. Because if you don't have a house to buy, you don't get tagged with a much higher interest rate. And you don't have to worry about what goes into that. If you're just selling a house, great. The prices are red hot. I would say overinflated for the circumstance. So would the Fed. But how overinflated could it be if that's what the houses are selling for? That's what the market will dictate. So yeah, if you got a house to sell, you're in great shape. Otherwise, you got yourself a problem. So I want to go on to another topic. That's the kind of the market at the moment. Let's move on to another topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart and one that I really want to discuss. I put out I do these little videos with TikTok and other things like that these days. People seem to like their information in, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute chunks. The radio show's a little harder for everybody to digest, I think. So those of you who are listening, thank you. I appreciate it as always. Always a pleasure to have an audience and have you guys listen to me. I appreciate it very much. But anyway, so I did this TikTok video last week and it's gone a little nuts. I'm not a huge TikTok person, an internet personality or any of that kind of stuff. And this one it's fast approaching 100,000 views, which is a lot more than I'm accustomed to. And there's a lot of conversation stuff about it. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about this. We talked about it a little bit last week when we had Jane, my wife and attorney, real estate attorney extraordinaire, hi honey, in here last week going over it. And the California is just doing some goofy stuff. That's the best way I can describe this, because I don't think what California is currently doing and what a lot of the cities around in California are doing right now makes any sense. And it has to do with landlords and rentals and tenants and rentals. And landlord-tenant stuff is always complicated. But the idea, California seems to have this idea that renting should be a permanent state of being. That if you're a renter, you should just stay a renter. And that's nonsense. The idea with renting should be a temporary situation. You rent for a couple of years and you first move out of a house, or you first move into a new area, or whatever your life dictates. But the goal is to own a house. And I think you'll find that's the goal for 99% of people. I don't know why it's not 100%. Because here's the thing. When you own a house, first of all, you get to make money on equity. Houses go up in value over time. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Sometimes it's a bad time, sometimes it's a good time. But over time, you will make money on a property, especially in a place like Southern California. One of the reasons our prices are so high, you will make money over time. If you don't have that investment, you won't. There was recently an AARP poll that I talk about a lot. I think it was 98.8% of everyone surveyed, it was a pretty good sized sample in that poll by AARP, has said they need the equity in their home to be able to retire. Without it, they would not have the money to retire. So that's 99% of people say they need the equity in a house. It's a good idea if you own one to build that equity, because otherwise you're going to get yourself to 60, 70 years old. You're going to realize if you're still a renter at 70, you got a problem. Because if you're relying on Social Security to support you or your 401k, I wish you the best of luck with both of those. I hope you have a great 401k, because Social Security isn't going to get it done. If there's anything left in Social Security by the time I'm 52. If I get to 60 years old, I doubt I'll have any Social Security there that's even worth a darn. I mean, I doubt I could pay my mortgage payment with my Social Security would be. I think most people would say that. So yeah, you need to own a house. You just do. That's just the way it is. But California has this idea that rentals are a permanent state of being. So what they're doing is they're making it easier for renters, harder for landlords. But what they're in effect doing is make it worse for renters. I'm going to explain why. I'll put it to you this way. If the state of California alone, Sacramento, the politicians of Sacramento, were in charge of curing polio, what we would have is the world's greatest iron lung and no cure. They just can't get out of that lane. They just don't understand. They're busy treating the symptom. They are not treating the disease. In California, here's some statistics I think you guys should know. In California, according to 2022 census, 173,800 homeless in California. Think about that. We have roughly 350,000, 400,000 people in Santa Clarita, so roughly half the equivalent of half the Santa Clarita Valley. 173,800 people throughout the state of California do not have homes. That's unforgivable. Now, in some cases, it's because there are mental problems. In some cases, it's because they're criminal issues or what else is going on, but I think it's a fairly small percentage of the overall homelessness population we're talking about. And we can do better than this. And the way the state is doing it is ridiculous. Now, here's another statistic. California has 30% of all of the nation's homeless. 30%. Yet we only have 12% of the U.S. population. Now, that sounds a little crazy to me. California has 12% of the entire U.S. population. Populous state, big state, good economy, makes sense. But yet we have 30% of the nation's homelessness. Why? Now, part of that problem is because it is so expensive to live in California. There are cheaper parts of the state, more expensive parts of the state, but overall, we're an expensive place to live. And despite eviction moratoriums, rental assistance, and stimulus checks, the amount of homelessness, the numbers of homeless in California is still growing. And that problem is not going to fix itself. So the state, in their infinite wisdom, has done two things that I completely stand in opposition to. The first of these is something called no-fault evictions. Now, what that means is when you take over a property, let's say you own 4 houses and they're rentals. You find there are a lot of people out there. So you now fall into the commercial category as far as the state is concerned. If you own 4 or more houses, you're a commercial landlord as far as they're concerned. If you're in that category, what that means is, let's say this is a true story. Let's say your lease is up, and the landlord comes to the tenant and says, I would like you to move out because we've owned this house for 45 years. My mother is in hospice. She's not doing well. She's going to unfortunately die in the next few months. And she very much would like to die in the house that she raised her kids in. And that was our house for 40 years. She'd like to die in that house. And the response from the city of LA was, no problem. All you got to do is pay the tenant $27,000 to move out. Now, I want to go over that again because it was astonishing when I first heard it. The lease is up. Tenant's been there for 4 or 5 years, I think 4 years. Though they've new lease every year. Landlord's done it right, got all the documentation in place, all the disclosures and everything else. Their lease is up. As their lease was ending, they were given a 90-day notice. I think it may have been 120 days, but at least a 90-day notice saying, hey, I'd like to move back in here for my mom. And the tenant said, no problem. Please pay me $27,000. So think about that. To take back your own house, to move back into your own home that you own in Los Angeles, you have to pay as much as $27,000. In Santa Monica, $37,000. And then in Pasadena, because Pasadena wanted to be one up on Santa Monica, $37,500. Now, these are the maximums, so hopefully it's less than that. But can you imagine? You own a house in Pasadena. Palmdale doesn't have these same problems. Neither does Santa Clarita, but we will. If you own a home in Pasadena, and let's say you own 5 houses in Pasadena, and you want to move back into one of them, and the lease is up with the tenant, you might have to shell out up to $37,500 to move back into your own house. That's obscene. That's nonsense. Now, the idea from the state and from these, this is great. City councils love this stuff because it's very popular. But the idea from the state and from the various city councils is that if you pay for relocation, it will make it easier for the tenant to relocate. Well, yeah. But what you do is you set up a scenario where the landlords aren't going to get into longer-term leases because the longer the lease is, the more you might have to pay to get somebody out. Again, at the end of the lease. A lease has a start date and a stop date. When the lease is over, your deal is over. If the landlord has completed their end and they haven't done anything wrong, and the tenant has completed their end and haven't done anything wrong, you can call it a no-fault eviction if you like, but the contract is up. So I'm just going to call it get out of the house. It's nonsense. You'd have to pay somebody to leave under those circumstances. But if you're in Pasadena and you have, say, 5 houses, you might have to shell out up to $37,500. And this was met with cheers. What renters don't get, those who cheer about this, is it creates a situation where landlords are going to make it harder. I'm a landlord. Now I have houses in Santa Clarita primarily, so I'm subject to this kind of stuff. But if I was in Pasadena, for example, there is no way I'm signing a 1-year lease. You're getting a 6-month lease from me and month to month after that. There is also no way you're going to be allowed to stay there more than 12 months because I'm not running the risk of having to pay you to get out of my house. So you're making it harder. You're actually increasing homelessness with these kind of restrictions, putting everything on the landlord. What the state of California wants to do is shift the responsibility that they have blown horribly, as evidenced by the 173,800 people who don't have homes in this state, the roughly 30% of the nation's homelessness that are in this state. We've blown it. We just have. Our politicians have failed us. That is the reality. Now, there are a lot of reasons for it. It's a complicated problem. I'm not suggesting I have any answers. And maybe they're doing the best they can. I don't know. But what I know is that this no-fault evictions nonsense, where a landlord has to pay a tenant to move out of their house at the end of a lease, is nonsense. It's garbage. And all it's going to do is create more homelessness. The other thing I want to touch on very briefly is Assembly Bill 12, which was just signed last week. And what it says now is if you have more than, I think it's 2 houses, but certainly more than 4, you can't collect more than 1 month deposit. No, I think deposits are too high. I totally agree with that. It makes perfect sense. Here's the problem. What is the state, the county, the city, what are the municipalities doing to address the removal of a tenant? If it takes, for example, right now in Los Angeles, it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to evict a tenant. And it's going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 if you use a mill. If you use a really good attorney, it's about double that. So that's the money you're going to have to spend. And that's if they don't damage the house. But yet a 1-month deposit is supposed to be okay to cover that? So a landlord should just volunteer from the jump to potentially lose 5 months worth of rent. And whatever else happens to the house that the damage the tenant could do. Again, the effect of that is not going to be to help renters. The effect of that is going to be landlords are going to require much more stringent credit requirements. With that rule in place, if that applies to me, I am not renting to a tenant who doesn't have another asset. Because getting a judgment against the tenant after it took me forever to throw them out is not going to get me paid. Nor is it going to get any landlord their money back. Now, I don't mean to be mean to tenants. Tenants have rights too, and I'm all for a lot of the government restrictions that protect tenants. This is a step too far. And it's a step too far because what it's going to create is a situation where landlords are going to be much, much more stingy about who they're willing to accept. It's going to be much harder to qualify for rentals. And in our town, it's hard enough to get a rental. The prices are insane. So it's going to make it harder, and it's ultimately going to make it more expensive for the tenants. So congratulations, California, once again, in trying to fix a problem that you can't seem to get to the heart of by nibbling around the edges. What you've done is you've tried to push it onto the landlords. The landlords aren't going to accept it, and those people who might otherwise have been able to qualify for a rental will not. So good job, you've upped the homelessness again. And if all that isn't bad enough, we also know, of course, according to census data, that the number of renters in the state of California is growing much, much faster than owners. Let me go over these statistics with you, and we'll go to break. California has the second lowest homeownership rate in the country, second only to New York. The ownership rate in California is about 56%. Nationwide, it's 65%. We do not have enough owners in this state. In California, 45.5% of all homes were occupied by renters. In other parts of the country, the average is 36.9%. We have more renters here than the rest of the country. We have fewer owners here than the rest of the country. That is the problem we need to address. And by the way, that number I just gave you, the 45.5% of people who are renters in California, that's the highest nationwide since 1970. And that number's going up. We are doing this wrong. If you want to prevent homelessness, create an ownership society. That is how we fix that. Make it easier for people to own homes. That's how we fix that. This nonsense with making it the landlord's problem and trying to squeeze money out of the landlords for renters, and that's a job for the state. You know, if the state wants to tell me that I have to pay a renter and we're partners, great. What are you going to do for me if my property sits vacant? Is the state going to pick up the tab for that? What are you going to do if I need to evict a tenant? Is the state going to pick up a tab for that? Because if we're our partners, I expect you to hold up your end. If we're not partners, you don't have the right to tell me what to do as far as paying a tenant to get out of my house. We didn't violate the lease. We had an agreement. Agreement's up. Job done. It's complete nonsense. And I don't mean to make it sound like I'm coming down on renters. I'm usually on the renter side with most of these things. Those of you who know my body of work over the last 30 years know that. But this is crazy, and it's going to damage renters. It's going to make it harder to rent. It's going to create more homelessness. I will tell you, without fear of contradiction, the 2023 census in California, when they look at homelessness again, that 173,800 number is going to be higher. For sure, it's going to be higher. So food for thought. Food for thought. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to the show. I appreciate it. We'll lighten it up a little bit. We'll have Yvette in here. We'll talk about home protection plans and what those can do for your house and all, because they're incredibly important, can save you a lot of money. I think they're very, very valuable. I've been recommending to everybody for years. So staying through the break, we're going to hear from some of our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to have Yvette Sanchez in. We're going to talk about, she works for Home Guard Home Warranty. We're going to talk about home protection plans and all the good stuff they can do for you. And I'll calm down a little bit because I'm pretty angry about some of these stats that I've just kind of come across here, and we'll lighten up the show a little bit. So please listen through the break, and I'm your host, Rich Szerman. You've reached The Real Estate Fix, and we'll be back in a few. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You've reached The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman. You're listening to 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS, your hometown station. Thank you guys for tuning in. Those of you who listen to the show and those of you who are new, thank you for coming in. We'll make the best use of your time, I promise. We're here today. We were just talking about some homelessness stuff and some other cheery subjects to start the show, because I always like to start the show on a massive downer for everybody, because that makes it super fun. But by comparison, this will make this segment sound better. We're in the studio today. We've got a special guest, Yvette Sanchez with Home Guard Home Warranty. She's an account rep for Home Warranty. And I use Home Guard for our stuff. We recommend it to clients all the time. Terrific company to work with. We've been working with Home Guard for quite some time now, and they've always done all right by us and by our clients. Not too many complaints, which is nice. I think in the world of home warranty, you probably get a lot of different complaints. But anyway, so we're going to talk all things home warranty, and we're going to start with kind of what a home warranty is, what you use it for. Think of it as sort of supplemental insurance. But I want to welcome Yvette to the studio. Hi, Yvette. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. You know a lot more about this than I do, so otherwise we'd just be dead air if I had to talk about home. Well, keep something busy, but we're going to learn about home warranty today. So Yvette's background is she has an extensive background in customer service. She previously worked in the banking sector, and she's fluent in both English and Spanish, which is also very handy. I apologize all the time when I talk about being bilingual. I am not. My staff is, because we get a lot of people who in our client base that are more comfortable with people who speak Spanish. So luckily my staff is bilingual, but I failed miserably. I had the opportunity to take Spanish in school, and instead I decided to take music lessons, which I can play a great little song, but I am not bilingual. So I'm glad that you are, so we can rely on you. So if you have any questions about we go through this and you want to do it in Spanish, we can do that for you as well. By the way, if you do have any other questions of me, or if you have any questions of Yvette that I can pass along, you can always reach me at 661-714-1400. That's my phone number. It's my personal cell phone number. I give it out every week, 661-714-1400. And for those of you who do call, I like it when you're surprised. When I answer the phone, they go, oh, you actually answered. I do. That's really my phone, and I really will answer. And if I don't, you can always send me a text, and I will call you back as soon as I can. So if you text me while I'm on the air, then I have to call you back later. But, right, so let's talk all things home warranty. So let's start here. What is a home warranty?
Home warranty, that is...
It's the most basic question, right?
Yes, but a lot of people don't know. It's an added security and a little extra insurance. It helps with the cost of expensive repairs.
Yeah.
AC repairs are expensive.
Well, yeah, for example, I'll use myself as an example. I have home warranties on all my properties. I find them very valuable, and I'll explain why. I just had a problem with my pool, and I've got a great pool guy. I'm very happy with him. Had him for years, and he sent me an estimate to make the repairs, which was $2,200. And I have no doubt that is a completely reasonable price to make the repairs that were necessary. But it dawned on me I have a home warranty plan with Home Guard, and I have pool coverage, so I called the company, and I think it cost me $85, and they sent somebody out, and they did all the work, and it's all done. And I don't know about you, and I certainly don't know about you guys listening, but I much prefer $85 to pay for the fix than $2,200, especially these days as the economy is tightening up. So yeah, think of home warranty as, or home protection if you prefer, as sort of, it's supplemental insurance. In other words, if your house burns to the ground, you have a regular insurance company, mine it's deductible, will take care of that. But if your water heater explodes, unless you have, supplemental insurance, unless you have a home warranty, you're on your own.
Right.
And just to replace a water heater these days, we just did it with another client who does not have a coverage, and it was about $400 to get it installed. Whereas if they had a home warranty plan, it would have cost them $85. Right. So yeah, home warranty is I think it's the most valuable. If you're a landlord, it's fantastic. Tenants love it because they don't have to wait for you to fix things, and we let them call in on their own, which is great. And I like it because the water heater explodes at 2:00 in the morning, and it's one of my rental properties. I get a phone call saying, is it okay for us to fix this? And I say, yes. And then it's fixed and I can go back to sleep. Otherwise, I'd be up at 2:00 in the morning going to find a water heater and trying to get it fixed. So it's very valuable as a landlord as well. So home warranty is supplemental insurance to cover those little things that can be very, very expensive, right? Okay, so that's one of the other questions I get. The show originally started as a call-in show, but nobody likes to call in. So I get a lot of emails, and I still get a lot of emails. So we got a couple of questions. The first one, of course, is what is home warranty when I put this out to people, which I think is good enough. And we're talking about what is the difference between home warranty and home insurance. I think we've kind of talked about that a little bit. So what does a home protection plan cover? Let's start there. I mean, obviously it depends on the coverage you buy. You have options.
Right.
But what sort of stuff?
We have 4 different plans, 26 add-ons, so we can really customize it. The basic would be your appliances, stove, refrigerator, microwave. Let's see what else. Yeah, there's so many. Your plumbing, your electrical, your water heater, your pool equipment. If you have a septic tank, that's also an add-on we can do.
What's great about those add-ons is, like for most houses, like for example, I have a pool, but I don't have a septic tank. I don't mind putting in pool coverage because, as we said, it just served me very well. Actually, I'm kind of ahead for the next couple of years on that. Sorry. But I don't want to have to pay for septic coverage because I don't have a septic tank. Right. So being able to do it kind of, general policy and the add-on, a la carte makes it great because you can customize it to yourself, which is the whole idea to your situation. I think when we have somebody, we represent a buyer buying a house. I tell them that they really need a home warranty. We'll get the seller to pay for it because most sellers pay for it. I tell my sellers that too. If I have a seller, I tell them you need to offer the buyer a home warranty plan because it prevents lawsuits. More than anything else, from my point of view, it prevents lawsuits because it's the funniest thing when a buyer buys a house and they're in there less than 6 months and a dishwasher explodes. I get the phone call. You need to talk to that seller and tell them their dishwasher exploded. Well, it's not their dishwasher anymore. It's your dishwasher. Has been for about the last 6 months. Right. But luckily, you have a home protection plan because we insisted you get one. So for $85, they'll come fix it or replace it. Whereas if you didn't have that, they're going to sue. They're going to go to small claims court and sue the seller, or maybe it's something else. But it's going to get ugly. So this just gives everybody an outlet, and it's so cost effective. How much is it for a basic home warranty these days?
Our plan started at $390.
Yeah. So for less than $400. I think how much is the super deluxe Nito version?
$815.
Okay, so for somewhere between say $380 and how much?
$815.
$815. So somewhere between $380 and $815, if you're a seller, no more headaches, no small claims court. No, I mean, you can't guarantee that, but it drops the odds down quite a bit. And especially in California, which is a pretty litigious state, it's not a bad idea to have your, have coverage, shall we say. It's always nice to have an, I mean, I'm sorry because I know I pick on home warranty a lot because I know you guys are in business to make money and I'm not helping because we're constantly making claims. I don't know if my clientele just has more claims or we're just anxious. I maybe over promote it and I tell them to use it, which is great. But for $300-400, you can be covered. It's an incredibly important thing. So what about, okay, let's talk about this. What about the mechanics of a home protection plan? Let's say I have we'll use dishwashers. I'm on about dishwashers today. Let's say my dishwasher explodes. What happens? What do I do? I have a home warranty plan with HomeGuard and my dishwasher explodes. What do I do?
Well, when you're with HomeGuard, you can call me directly.
Oh,
tell me
even nicer.
what's going on. We can talk about it and then we can get that claim started, or you can call our claims department directly, start your claim, get the technician sent out and repaired.
Yeah, they'll usually get a technician out. There's a service call. I think it's $85, depending on the policy. You can get them a little bit lower, a little bit higher. Also, if you're a military first responder, there are discounts there as well, which is nice. I think that's wonderful of you guys to do that. But you give them a call, you pay your $85, and your problem is just solved. And they usually have contractors out within a week.
Correct.
And I've never had to wait more than a week, which I don't think any of my clients have either. So it is incredibly effective for you. So for those of you who don't, especially in Santa Clarita, with a brand new house, it might be less important, although I don't think it is because we have seen plenty of failures in new housing as well. But at least there's some other warranties that go along with that, although they don't cover, like the builder warranty doesn't cover everything that HomeGuard would cover. Right.
But if you have brand new appliances, those are still covered. We will cover labor.
Oh, okay.
So say you call the company that your refrigerator's with, and they will cover the parts, but not the labor.
Oh, okay.
HomeGuard will step in and cover that labor and still get it.
Well, see, there you go. I didn't even know that. So even if it's a brand new house, it's incredibly valuable because they'll apparently pay the labor, which is great because most of your warranties on your refrigerators are like that. I've got one right now with a Kraft ice maker, which is a whole other thing. So they'll cover the parts, but you're on your own for the labor, and the labor tends to be the more expensive part. So having a home warranty would be handy there as well. And most houses in Santa Clarita are a little on the older side. So if you have a house built in the 80s or even built in the 90s, I'd want a home protection plan. I would sleep a lot better with a home protection plan where you guys. I do. I think they're fantastic. I've had you guys, God, what'd you fix? You fixed for us this year in a rental. You fixed an air conditioning system, saved me a couple $1,000 there. You fixed my pool. It saved me a couple $1,000. There was a stove you replaced in another property. And these are just the stuff that I do personally with clients. Right. I have no idea what the tally is, but there's no way you guys, I think it's great. I don't know how you stay in business because my clients are killing you. Because $300-400 a policy, $500 a policy, even $800 a policy. My clients are getting thousands of dollars worth of work done for $89 or $85. So, which is pretty valuable. So, before we go to the next break, I have one big question because we have a lot of options for home warranty. We're spoiled in California, the amount of home warranty companies that are out there. What makes HomeGuard? I mean, I know my answer is for this, but what makes HomeGuard better to work with than the 100 other plans out there? In other words, why should somebody buy with HomeGuard versus one of the many other companies that are out there?
Well, that would be our plans. We have great plans, great coverage. We have, like I said, 26 additional add-ons.
Yeah, coverage goes a lot deeper, yeah.
We have the roof coverage. Up to $1,500, limited roof leak coverage, which is added onto all our plans at no additional cost.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All the plans come with that.
Oh, well, if my roof leaks, I know who to call. That's fantastic.
Right. We also have our rekey. Yeah. So when you get to your new home, peace of mind, we will go out there, give us a call. We can do up to 6 locks.
Oh,
we'll give
tremendous.
You 4 keys.
Oh, tremendous.
Your very own keys. Peace of mind, you're moved in.
Yeah, anytime you buy a house, there are just certain things. Even as a renter, if you move into a new house, there are just certain things. Getting a house rekeyed is important. I mean, it just is. So you never know who's running around with the key before you got there. And just having another key is obviously having a rekey. It's not anyone wants to kick in a door, they can do it. A key's not going to protect you, but they can break a window if they really wanted to. But nobody's going to come around and just open your little front door and come check it. I did have that happen once, where a former owner came. Oh, I didn't know you moved in yet. House sold a month ago. Would you expect them to wait? And they gal came out of the shower and found a guy standing in her living room screaming, "I used to live here."
Oh no.
So yeah, obviously
definitely use the rekey option.
Yeah, well in their case we had rekeyed the house. She left the front door open because she felt it was a comfortable place. But anyway, so yeah, obviously we definitely want to rekey your house whenever you get in. So home warranty will cover that for you. So if you have any questions about home warranty or this sort of stuff, you can call me. You can reach me at 661-714-1400. Of course, all I'm going to do is give you Yvette's phone number. You want to give the people your phone number so they can call if they have any questions for you?
That is 310-924-1803.
You can also get to Yvette through the HomeGuard Home Warranty website, which is I apologize, I should know this. What's the website?
Home Warranty. That is hghw.com.
Oh, it's an easy one. I should have known that. I shouldn't have flubbed. I should have just guessed. hghw.com. I actually have it saved, so I never have to type it in when I have to go deal with it. Yeah. So if you have any questions about home warranty or want to know more about it, give me a call or give Yvette a call. We'll be happy to answer your questions for you. Be happy to help you out. And if you want to get a home warranty policy, I recommend it very, very highly. It is just this year alone, it has probably saved me about $5,000 over 3 properties. That's pretty cost effective. I mean, it's costing $800 a year, $900 a year, and it's saving me $5,000. Again, I don't know how HomeGuard survives on that math, but I'll take it. It's fantastic for me. I am all for it. So those of you guys out there own a house, if you own a house, you really ought to have a home warranty. I can't even, because it's one of those things that you won't know you need it until it's too late. Right. Till your air conditioner dies or your pool pump goes or whatever else goes. And these repairs are expensive. I mean, that is just the reality. Couple of quick statistics before we move on. So cost of repairs and additions at the moment. 2x4s used to sell for $7. Now they sell for $15. This is before the pandemic. So before the pandemic, you had a 2x4 for $7. Now they're $15. A sheet of OSB, which is Oriented Strand Board. I just learned that from a friend of mine who's a contractor. Before the pandemic, $10 a sheet. Now it's $70. That's gone up 7-fold. That's a lot. So yeah, the cost of materials has gone through the roof. So that makes home warranty even more valuable. You know, I didn't have to pay for the parts to fix the pool. That was one of the reasons it would have been so expensive. But I didn't have to pay for it. Didn't have to pay for the parts. Didn't have to pay for the labor. For $85, I got $2,200 worth of work done. I don't know about you guys, but I'll take that math every time. So, I want to thank you for coming in. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. We really appreciate it. Let's tell you what, let's go to our final break. And we come back, I've got some other fun stuff. I got a story to tell you guys I think you're going to find interesting because I love telling stories. So when we come back, we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, let's listen to some of the sponsors and pay some bills around here. And when we come back, we'll talk all about that. Thank you guys for listening. You've reached The Fix with Rich. I'm Rich Szerman on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. Hello, everybody. You've reached The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman. You're listening to 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS, your hometown station. And for those of you watching on Facebook, hi. We sometimes forget there's a video component around here, so we get a laugh about that. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. We talked today's show. We talked about some of the stuff going on with no-fault evictions and reductions on tenant deposits, which I agree the idea deposit should be reduced. I'm all for that, but you got to treat the other end of that as well. If you just push all on the landlord, which is what the state is doing, it's going to end in disaster, which is where we're going. Again, 173,800 homeless in the state already. 30% of the nation's homelessness, only 12% of the nation's population. If you don't see that those numbers are out of whack, then I don't know a better way to describe it. And I don't have a solution to homelessness for you. I can only tell you what they're doing now is going to make it worse. We also heard from Yvette Sanchez. We talked about home warranty and the importance of a home warranty plan. I cannot overstate to you guys. And I'm a big fan of HomeGuard Home Warranty. They've always treated my staff, myself, and my clients, most importantly my clients, very, very well. They're very easy to deal with. And they have coverage that other people don't have, and their prices are fantastic. So I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I think it was in my own case, I've saved over $5,000 this year at the cost of with the policy. So 2 policies, that was $1,600 and a couple of service calls. That's pretty good math. I think that works out for me pretty nicely. So I promised you guys a story, and here it is. So as you guys know who listen regularly, who know me or know my career at all, I do a lot of pro bono work. I do a lot of foreclosure defense. I fix people's problems, hence the name of the show. And we do it for free, and I have been for over 30 years because I don't think it's right to charge people if they're already in trouble. The matrix there is very easy. We solve your problem, we fix it, and hopefully you come back and see us again when it comes time to buy or sell a property. And the commissions we make when you go to buy or sell a property are what we use to keep the lights on so we can do all this stuff that we do for free. Because about 60% of my business these days, almost 70%, is pro bono work. And we're very proud of that. There's thousands of people that are still in houses today that wouldn't have been otherwise without our work, and I'm very, very proud of that. So I think it's a pretty decent legacy, all things considered. But I want to tell you about one we got in the office right now. Now, without using her name, it's a client. I will tell you that she is in our community. She is a widow. She owns a house that is worth about $1 million. She only owes about $400,000 against it, so she's got about $600,000 in equity, and she's in trouble. She's in trouble because she during the pandemic, she lost her job and she's not been able to secure another one. She's got some health issues as well. And so she's not working. And even though she's got all the equity in the world in this house, her mortgage is sliding into foreclosure. It's already slid into foreclosure. As a matter of fact, there's a foreclosure sale date set for Monday. Now, here's the story. I would do this as Bad Bank of the Week, but I don't want to be flippant about it. I want to be serious about this because it's important. There's a bank out there called Gregory Funding. Gregory Funding is based out of Colorado. They have, depending on who you look at, between 30 and 45 people working there. That's it. And they have over $5 billion in mortgages. So when you go to call Gregory Funding, bring a lunch because the average wait time, at least these last 2 weeks, the average wait time to get on the phone with Gregory Funding is 3.5 hours. Now, I don't know about you, but if I call a place and it takes 3.5 hours to get them on the phone, they're not doing it right. That's no longer customer service. That is obstruction. And they're doing that intentionally. But let me tell you a few other things about Gregory Funding. We got this client into something called the California Mortgage Relief Program, which you guys have heard me talk about ad nauseum. We even had the president of CalHFA on with us a couple weeks ago to talk about it. That is the program where in the state of California, as a result of the American Rescue Plan, California got $1 billion in federal funds to pay people's mortgages and get them out of foreclosure. It is literally free money. And the people down there are fantastic to work with. We've had a bunch of people out of foreclosure by using the state and federal money. And again, it's free. You don't pay it back. Now, in her case, she's about $35,000 behind. She has an agreement, we got it done with the California Mortgage Relief Program, where they have already agreed in writing to give her the $35,000 to get out of foreclosure. That same note has gone to Gregory Funding. They are very well aware that that money is there. It is just waiting to be sent to Gregory Funding. Gregory Funding has talked to California Mortgage Relief Program directly. By the way, the banks that cooperate with the California Mortgage Relief Program have to sign up for it. They have to wave their hand and say, yes, we will do this. Gregory Funding has done that. They are signed up with the California Mortgage Relief Program. They work with the California Mortgage Relief Program. So that means they signed up with them. And yet they're having trouble accepting this money. Or I shouldn't say that. They're having trouble acknowledging the money. Because we talked to him yesterday, we talked to him again today, and as far as I know, they're still foreclosing on Monday. So think about this. They know the money's coming from a state agency. It is guaranteed. They have this in writing. And yet they won't even postpone the foreclosure sale to allow them to take in the money. Now, I don't know that that has anything to do with the fact that she owes $400,000 on a house that's worth $1 million, but I have a feeling it plays into their thinking. Because Gregory Funding is one of the worst banks on the planet. They're horrible. You can't talk to them because they don't have enough staff. You can't get them to do anything because nobody there wants to make a decision. They're miserable to deal with. They're up there with Carrington and PHH as far as I'm concerned. But even PHH doesn't have 3.5-hour wait times. I mean, how dare you have that many mortgages and tell people that you have a customer service department and yet it takes 3 hours or more to get somebody on the phone? That's not customer service. What you're doing, Gregory Funding, is you're intentionally making it more complicated. You're intentionally making it take longer, and you're pushing more people to foreclosure, which is why Gregory Funding, just like PHH and Carrington, have a higher foreclosure ratio than other banks. Carrington has about double the amount of foreclosures as B of A. Gregory has not quite that amount, about 1.5 the amount of B of A. Now, I'm not saying B of A is great. I'm just saying these other companies are far worse. So Gregory Funding has lots of foreclosures because they treat their clients horribly, because they do not do their jobs competently. They know this money is coming. They have a guarantee that it's coming. I think it's actually getting wired today, but they are still intent on foreclosing on Monday because why not take advantage of a widow's pain and grief? I mean, why not? What would prevent you at Gregory Funding from foreclosing on a house that you only owed $400,000 that's worth $1 million? Is it the fact that she's a widow enough? Apparently not. Is the fact that she is getting the money from the state that she's qualified for and you know you guys are getting it, is that enough? Apparently not. Is us talking to you and telling you what's going on, sending in a loan modification, all the rest of that stuff, is that enough? Nope, apparently not. Gregory Funding has just decided they're going to foreclose on this woman. They're going to take her home away from her because they will profit, because they can. Not because they should, not because it's ethical, not because it's moral, not even because it's necessary. They're doing it because they can. Let me also add to this. Most of the time when we have a property in foreclosure and a foreclosure sale date has been set, if you go to the bank with any sort of plausible argument, we're working on a loan modification, my Uncle Larry's going to give me the money, and here's a copy of Uncle Larry's bank, whatever it is, they will almost reflexively give you another 30 days. It's easy to get a 30-day postponement, except with Gregory Funding. Small bank, grossly understaffed, grossly undermanned. The people there don't seem to know what the heck they're doing, but they know they're going to foreclose on this house and make themselves a nice little windfall. Now, strictly speaking, when a bank forecloses, any money that's left over beyond their foreclosure fees and everything else is supposed to go to the next lien in the property or the owner of the property if there are no other liens. But I'm here to tell you, I've seen banks rack up $30, $40, $50, $60, $100,000 in fees that they wind up getting paid. So even if they don't get the whole boat, they have an incentive to foreclose. And that's unfortunately just the way the system works. But in this case, with Gregory Funding, this particular houses, if you work at Gregory Funding, you should be ashamed of yourself. You just should. You are attempting, and we're not going to let you do it, but you are attempting to, in my view, steal a house from a widow. That's what you're doing at Gregory Funding. So if you work at Gregory Funding and you get this on Facebook or if you get this on YouTube, and I'll be sure to send you a copy of this video, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Because you are attempting to foreclose on a house that does not be foreclosed on. You're attempting to foreclose on a house where the money is coming to you, and you won't even give us an extra week, let alone an extra 30 days. Because you've decided that the state didn't act quickly enough, even though the state, California, CalHFA, who runs this program, and Gregory Funding have spoken to each other directly. They have talked to each other. The state has told them, and we've told them in writing. They know the money's there. They know it's guaranteed. They know it's coming. but they can't be bothered to put off the sale because not their policy. Now, what is their policy is if they are going to put off a sale, they won't even tell you they're putting it off. Even if you got them everything done, they won't even tell you they're putting off the sale for 2 to 3 days before the sale because they want to make it as crazy as they can for you, put the owner as much pressure as they possibly can so that they will do anything to get out from under with Gregory Funding. Now, I don't know what you guys call that. I call it extortion. Pay me or else is extortion. That's what it is. Now, what this client may have to do is file a bankruptcy just to get 1 or 2 days to get the money to clear so they don't take her house. So you guys at Gregory Funding, I hope you're proud of yourselves. You're now forcing a widow into a bankruptcy that is totally unnecessary. Oh, don't be worried though, Gregory Funding. I'll make sure to tell the bankruptcy trustee that you're wasting their time as well. Because that's what you're doing. You're creating a bankruptcy that's unnecessary, that overburdens the court system, makes the seller crazy. She's already been in the hospital once because of the stress of this, and you're trying to send her there again. You guys are wrong, you're awful, and you're going to lose. You're not getting the foreclosure anyway. And I will, Brett, drag you out into the light, and I will tell everybody there is to know about this, and I will absolutely send you guys a copy of the video, and I'll send a copy to the court as well, because I think they should know who you're acting to. So congratulations, Gregory Funding. You are our bad bank of the week. With that, thank you guys for listening, and I'll update you on this story. Trust me, we're going to win this one. She's not going to lose her house. I'm not going to let that happen. I'll update you on this next week. We'll let you know where we're at. But thank you guys for listening. I very much appreciate it. This has been The Real Estate Fix. I'm your host, Rich Szerman, on KHTS 98.1 AM 1220. Not a super fun show today. My apologies to Yvette if it wasn't fun all the way through, but she was fun, so that was great. So home warranty was good. Any questions you have of me, give me a call anytime. 661-714-1400. I'm your host, Rich Szerman. Thank you guys for listening. Be good humans. Have an excellent week.